It's time for the Money Puzzle Podcast, with good conversations and realistic solutions to the money puzzles we all face every day. I'm your host, financial advisor, chartered financial consultant, and president of Edgen Insurance and Financial, Robert Edgen. Now let's get this show started. Hi there, hello, and welcome to the Money Puzzle Podcast. I am Robert Edgen, and I'll be your guide for the ride for the next few minutes. Each week, we look at a different piece of the money puzzle and practical ways to solve it so you can have the financial confidence you deserve and the future that you dream of. This is episode number 28, and today we are talking about fitness, both the physical and the financial kind, and these 6 things that you can do to be more physically and financially fit. We're actually going to break it down into 2 shows. Today, we're going to cover the first 3. Next week, we'll cover the second 3. Physical fitness and financial fitness actually have a lot in common. A lot in common. In fact, most of the things that you do and think about when it comes to your physical fitness can be directly applied to your financial fitness as well. The same principles hold true for both. And we already know that it's important to maintain our physical health because it allows you to do a lot more and to do it for a lot longer because you've got your health and you're physically fit. Well, you can also do a lot more and do it for longer when you are financially fit too. I'm a big believer in staying fit, so I am excited to have this conversation. But before we get to our hot topic for today, I do a lot of reading and research. I come across different financial news headlines that catch my eye. So let's take a minute and look at some news. Today's news story comes to us from Yahoo, and the headline reads, "Bank robber used oblivious dad as getaway driver." Now, this story comes out of Maine, and police in Maine say that a man who robbed a bank used his unwitting father as the getaway driver. Keith Tilton dropped his 39-year-old son, Joseph, off at a Lewiston bank on Tuesday afternoon, believing that his son needed to cash a check. In the few minutes that he was inside, he was actually robbing the bank before strolling back out, hopping back in the car with his dad, and asking him to give him a ride to another location. They go on to say, after dropping his son off in a different part of Lewiston, Keith, the dad, drove back past the bank on his way home. He was stopped by police because, he was in the getaway car. And the police let him know that he had been the getaway driver and participated in this robbery. Now, the father was not charged, but they did go catch up with his son. He was arrested on felony robbery charges, accused of stealing $620. It all amazes me. And now $620, that's what we're doing. This is all over $620. I'm sure he was hoping and expecting to get more, but just absolutely crazy. Let's go ahead and get to our hot topic of the day. All right, so let's talk about fitness. I actually tried to have this conversation and to film this a few weeks ago, but before I film every episode live for the show, I let my wife see kind of a preview. I let her read my notes, and my wife, who loves me very much and wants me to portray myself in the way that I want to be portrayed, which is a very kind, caring person, because that's what I am. She had the hard job of telling me that I was coming off as a jerk. I am so passionate about fitness and staying fit that I was trying to give some tips and tricks and advice, and my wife, who happens to be in great shape and looks amazing, said I even made her feel bad about her fitness. So I scrapped it all. I started over. I'm going to try it again. If I happen to come off as a jerk again, my wife will let me know on everybody's behalf, but I'm going to try to make sure that that does not happen. So let's talk about 6 ways or 6 things that you can do to be more fit, both physically and financially. But first, before we do, you've got to be motivated.
Right on! Let's do it! Rock that world!
Now, I realize that everyone wants to have a great body, or everyone wants to be healthier, everyone wants to be rich and have their finances in order, but just wanting it doesn't make it happen. You have to get motivated to a point of actually doing something about it. Now, motivation comes in a lot of different ways. There's temporary motivation, on the physical side of things, maybe it's, I'm going to go on a vacation and I'm going to the beach, so I need to get swimsuit ready. Well, that's some temporary motivation. Or, hey, my kid's getting married and I want to make sure that I can fit into that dress that she wants me to wear. So, that's temporary motivation. My first temporary motivation actually came about 15 years ago, or maybe even more like 17 years ago, when my son was very young. And I got home from work one day and he was excited to see me. So he came up to the bedroom with me so we could, hang out and chat while I was getting out of my work clothes. And I remember he said the most cruel, hurtful thing to me that he had no idea that he was saying, but it did motivate me. I got my shirt off and he looked at me and he said, "Daddy, you have boobies." That crushed my spirit. It made me really rethink, should I keep this kid or get rid of him? But you know what? I needed to hear it, because I did. I was about 30 pounds heavier and I did have boobies. Now, it motivated me. I went on a diet. I lost a little bit of weight, but when the boobies went away, the motivation did too. And that happens with a lot of motivation. If it's temporary, it's hard to keep it going. We get a lot of financial temporary motivation as well. Our car breaks down. We don't have the money to fix it. We lose our job and we have nothing set aside, in our emergency fund. We want to go on a vacation and we forget to save and we don't have the money to go. But as we solve these little temporary problems, or we make our way through them, the motivation goes away as well. The other kind of motivation is maybe a little bit more long lasting. And on the physical side of things, sometimes we get a health scare and that motivates us to change our eating habits or our exercise habits. Maybe you're told that you're pre-diabetic, or maybe somebody that goes through a health scare that could have been prevented if they had been paying more attention, to what they were eating and taking better care of themselves. This actually happened to me as well. It was about 10 years after my temporary motivation with my son. My dad had a heart attack. He actually had two on the same day when he was 62. He did survive, but at that point, my dad was the oldest living male in our family. None of the men in our family had lived past age 60. He was 62. We had these two heart attacks. It was like a wake-up call, both for him, but also for me, because I wanted to make sure that I lived a long life. And if now there's some genetics that I need to be, looking out for, I wanted to make sure that I addressed that. But guess what happened? Even that didn't last. As my dad's health improved, as he got back to kind of normal and his normal lifestyle and all that sort of stuff, I did too. Even though I knew how important it was, I had this temporary motivating factor that did not cause long-lasting, result or change in my life. And why is that? Well, really, it's because it is hard to stay motivated, especially if it is for a temporary goal. Diets are hard because they're very sudden, they're very extreme. They have these big changes. I'm giving up sweets. I'm not eating any carbs. I'm doing this 7 days a week. The same is true when we go into a financial diet, if you will. I've got to cut all of my spending. I'm never eating out again. I'm only eating ramen for dinner. I'm moving in with my parents. These big extremes are hard to maintain for a long period of time. So for me, what I realized was that doing little things, taking bite-sized pieces, but sustaining it for a long period of time actually made my life much easier, and my both physical and financial fitness much healthier and simpler and easier to maintain. So it's a lot easier to take on a new lifestyle than a diet. So if we're going to do that, let's talk about 6 things that I have learned to stay more fit, both physically and financially. The first is that repetition is key. You cannot go to the gym once and expect to have muscles. Well, the same is true with your finances. You cannot make one deposit to your 401k and expect to retire rich. You cannot just skip eating out one time and expect to be debt-free. No, it's doing these little things consistently over a long period of time that really makes a big difference. When I first went to the gym, I decided I was going to work out like crazy. My first day that I was there, I hit every machine there was. I pushed as hard as I could. I sweat my butt off. And then I went and I looked in the mirror and I looked the exact same. Well, that's okay. I told myself I just finished. I just left. I'm leaving the gym. But when I got up the next morning and I looked in the mirror again, you know what? I still looked the exact same. Damn it, I thought this was going to be easy, but of course that's not how it works. Well, the same is true. The first time that I wrote my check to max out my IRA, I looked at my investment account the next day, and you know what? It still had the exact same amount of money in it as what I had deposited. Doing these things once isn't enough. You have to do them over and over again. The other thing that happens when you start working out or you start becoming more physically fit is that you're sore at first. That first day when I went to the gym and I killed myself and I looked in the mirror and no changes were there, my legs were killing me the next day. So much so that I actually fell down in front of a client trying to get a cup of coffee because it was like walking on jello legs. That was me. Well, the same is true for my finances. The first time that I wrote that check and maxed out my IRA, my checkbook hurt. My wallet was sore. And because I had not prepared and I had done it all at once and I didn't really do it the right way, I didn't get to go to Starbucks. I didn't get to do the things that I wanted to do. I think my barista put out an MIA looking for me because they thought that I went missing. So you're going to be sore at first, but if you push through and you keep exercising and you keep saving and investing, then instead of being sore, you're just tight. And it kind of feels good to have, tight muscles. It kind of feels good to have tight finances. You get your finger on the pulse of things a little bit better. You get used to it. So repetition really does matter. Most millionaires that I know did not become millionaires overnight. They didn't win the lottery or get a big inheritance. People might think that they were overnight millionaires, but really what they were was they were consistent. They were repetitive in their saving and investing until one morning they wake up and their account is over $1 million and people around them think that they hit it rich or hit it big, when in reality, they've just been consistent over years and years and years. They've maintained that good, healthy financial lifestyle. All right, number 2, your diet matters. Now, I'm not talking about going on a diet because diets really are no fun whatsoever. I say diets suck, but really your diet, your eating does matter, or more technically, what you don't eat does matter. Your diet makes up about 80% of your of your physical fitness. The exercise is only about the other 20%. Well, the same is true on your financial side of things. What you spend makes up about 80% of your financial health, or more technically, what you don't spend makes up about 80% of your financial health. How your investments do and how they grow is really only about the other 20%. You have to have money to make money, and it really is just it's a matter of math. You have to control your diet in order to have the money, in order to be able to invest the money and grow the money. You don't have to starve yourself on the physical side of things, and you don't have to live like a pauper on the financial side of things, but you need to be balanced. So you need to pay attention to your diet, both for eating and for spending. All right, number 3, you need to find an accountability buddy. I go to the gym every morning at 5:45. I'm an early bird. I like the morning workout routine. I like leaving my house before dark. It makes me feel good. But you know what? Sometimes it sucks to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning and leave at 5:45. It's cold outside, or it's rainy, or I'm tired because I stayed up too late the night before. But I know that I have a gym buddy, an accountability buddy, who's going to be there. He's going to be waiting for me. We work out together, and I'm going to disappoint him if I don't go. So he makes me do the things that I know that I should do, even if sometimes I don't want to do them. Well, the same is true with your finances. For my accountability there is my wife. She helps me decide, are those boots really something that I need or something that I want? She helps me remember what is really important, our big goals in life. And we can bounce ideas off of each other. Should we spend on that? Can we save off of that? It also gives you someone to celebrate your successes with. So it's great to find someone to share your journey with. Get yourself an accountability buddy. All right, that's it for this week. Next week, we'll be back with the other 3 things that you can do, for a total of 6 things you can do that I have learned in my life that have helped me tremendously to be more both physically and financially fit. As a recap, so far we've talked about repetition matters. We can't do something one time and expect it to change our life, either on the physical side or the financial side. We have to do things over and over and over again. And the best way to do that is not to go on diets, it's to adopt a lifestyle. We talked about how diet matters. Again, not going on a diet, but what you consistently eat or don't eat every single day impacts 80% of how you look and feel. And on the financial side, 80% of what you spend or don't spend consistently day in and day out, that's what impacts and makes you feel healthy financially. The exercise portion, that's 20% of it. The investment performance portion of it, that's like exercise for your money. That's the 20% of it. And then third, we talked about having an accountability buddy, somebody to share the journey with, to go through things together, and somebody who will keep you motivated for longer, who will remind you that, hey, you've got to show up, you've got to put in the work, but somebody to go through that together with. So that's it for this week, but we will be back next week. We'll be covering the other 3 things. We'll be talking about routines and trainers and tracking and measuring. It's going to be a great conversation. But until then, please, if you got any value out of today, share this episode with somebody who needs to hear the message. Go ahead and give us a rating on whatever podcast app you're listening to this on. If you're watching us on YouTube, give us a thumbs up. And if you have any questions about your own money puzzle, email that to us, questions@yourmoneypuzzle.com. That's it for this week. Until next week, go out and do something to help improve your money puzzle. Your future self will be glad you did. We'll see you next week.
Registered representative of and securities offered through Securities Management and Research, Inc., SM&R. Member FINRA SIPC. Investment advisory services offered through BFC Planning, Inc. Edgen Insurance and Financial Services, Johnson Financial Services, SM&R, American National Family of Companies, and BFC Planning are independent entities. There are risks involved with investing which may include market fluctuation and possible loss of principal value. Particular investments may not be suitable for certain situations. Carefully consider the risks and possible consequences involved prior to making an investment decision. Our firm does not provide legal or tax advice. Be sure to consult with your own legal and tax advisors before taking any action that may have tax implications.